Odyssey, Book 4, continued. Menelaus is speaking here to Proteus, the changeable god of the sea. Father, thy charge I'll perfect, but before resolve me truly, if their natural shore all those Greeks and their ships do safely enjoy, that Nestor and myself left when from Troy we first raised sail, or whether any died at sea a death unwished, or, satisfied when war was part, by friends embraced, in peace resigned their spirits. He made answer, Cease to ask so far. It fits thee not to be so cunning in thy own calamity. Nor seek to learn what learned thou shouldst forget. Men's knowledges have proper limits set, and should not prease into the mind of God. But 'twill not long be, as my thoughts abode, before thou buy this curious skill with tears. Many of those whose states so tempt thine ears are stooped by death, and many left alive, one chief of which in strong hold doth survive, amidst the broad sea. 2 in their retreat are done to death. I list not to repeat who fell at Troy, thyself was there in fight, but in return swift Ajax lost the light. In his long-oared ship, Neptune yet awhile saft him unracked, to the Gyrian isle, a mighty rook removing from his way, and surely he had escaped the fatal day in spite of Pallas, if to that foul deed he in her fane did, when he ravished the Trojan prophetess. He had not here adjoined an impious boast, that he would bear, despite the gods, his ship safe through the waves then raised against him. These his impious braves, when Neptune heard, in his strong hand he took his massy trident, and so soundly struck the rock Gyrian, that into it cleft, of which one fragment on the sea he left, the other fell into the troubled seas, at which first rushed Ajax Oeilides, and split his ship, and then himself afloat, swum on the rough waves of the world's vast moat, till having drunk a salt cup for his sin, there perished he. Thy brother yet did win the wreath from death, while in the waves they strove, afflicted by the reverend wife of Jove. But when the steep mount of the Malian shore he seemed to reach, a most tempestuous blore, far to the fishy world that sighs so sore, straight ravished him again as far away as to the extreme bounds where the Agrians stay, where first Thyestes dwelt, but then his son Aegisthus Thyestiades lived. This done, when his return untouched appeared again, back turned the gods the wind, and set him then hard by his house. Then, full of joy, he left his ship, and close to country earth he cleft, kissed it, and wept for joy, poured tear on tear, to set so wishedly his footing there. But see, a sentinel that all the year crafty Aegisthus in a water tower set to spy his landing, for reward as great as 2 gold talents, all his powers did call to strict remembrance of his charge, and all discharged at first sight, which at first he cast on Agamemnon, and with all his haste informed Aegisthus. He an instant train laid for his slaughter, 20 chosen men of his plebeians he in ambush laid. His other men he charged to see purveyed a feast, and forth, with horse and chariots graced, he rode to invite him, but in heart embraced horrible welcomes, and to death did bring, with treacherous slaughter, the unwary king received him at a feast, and like an ox slain at his manger, gives him bits and knocks. No one left of Atrides' train, nor one save to Aegisthus but himself alone, all strewed together there the bloody court. This said, my soul he sunk with his report. Flat on the sands I fell, tears spent their store. I light abhorred, my heart would live no more. When dry of tears, and tired of tumbling there, the old truth tell, thus my daunted spirits did cheer. No more spend tears nor time, O Atreus' son, with ceaseless weeping, never wish was won. Use uttermost essay to reach thy home, and all unawares upon thy murderer come, for torture, taking thyself alive, or let Orestes, that should far outstrive thee in fit vengeance, quickly quit the light of such a dark soul, and do thou the rite of burial to him with a funeral feast. With these last words I fortified my breast, in which again a generous spring began of fitting comfort, as I was a man. But as a brother I must ever mourn. Yet forth I went, and told of return of these I knew. But he had named a third, held on the broad sea, still with life inspired, whom I besought to know, though likewise dead. I must mourn alike. He answered, He is Laertes' son, whom I beheld in nymph Calypso's palace, who compelled his stay with her, and since he could not see his country earth, he mourned incessantly, for he had neither ship instruct with oars, nor men to fetch him from those stranger shores. Where leave we him, and to thyself descend, whom not in Argos fate, nor death shall end, but the immortal ends of all the earth, she so ruled by them, that order death by birth, to fields Elysian, fate to thee will give, where Rhadamanthus rules, where men live a never troubled life, where snow nor showers, nor irksome winter spends his fruitless powers, but from the ocean Zephyr still resumes a constant breath, that all the fields perfumes. Which, since thou marriest Helen, are thy hire, and Jove himself is by her side thy sire. This said, he dived the deepsome watery heaps. I and my tried men took us to our ships, and whirls of thoughts I varied with my steps. Arrived and shipped the silent solemn night, and sleep bereft of our visual light. At morn, masts, sails reared, we sat, left the shores, and beat the foamy ocean with our oars. Again, then, we, the Jovan fallen, flood did fetch, as far as Egypt, where we did beseech the gods with hecatombs, whose anger ceased. I tombed my brother, that I might be blessed. All rites performed, all haste I made for home, and all the prosperous winds about were come. I had the passport now of every god, and here closed all these labors period. Here stay then, till the 11th or 12th day's light, and I'll dismiss thee well. Gifts exquisite preparing for thee, chariot, horses 3, a cup of curious frame to serve for thee, to serve the immortal gods with sacrifice, mindful of me, which all suns light thy skies. He answered, Stay me not too long time here, though I could sit attending all the year. Nor should my house, nor parents with desire, take my affections from you. So on fire with love to hear you are my thoughts. But so my Pylian friends I shall afflict with woe, who mourn even this stay. Whatsoever be the gifts your grace is to bestow on me, vouchsafe them such as I may bear, and save for your sake ever. Horse I list not have to keep in Ithaca, but leave them here to your soil's dainties, where the broad fields bear such cypress grass, where men-fed lote doth flow, where wheat like spelt, and wheat itself doth grow, where barley, white and spreading like a tree, but Ithaca hath neither ground to be, for any length it comprehends, a race to try a horse's speed, nor any place to make him fat in. Fitter far to feed a cliff-bred goat than raise or please a steed. Of all isles Ithaca doth least provide or meads to feed a horse or ways to ride. He smiling said, Of good blood art thou, son. What speech so young, what observation hast thou made of the world? I well am pleased to change my gifts to thee, as being confessed unfit indeed, my store is such as I may. Of all my house gifts then, that up I lay for treasure there, I will bestow on thee the fairest and of greatest price to me. I will bestow on thee a rich carved cup of silver all, but all the brims wrought up with finest gold. It was the only thing the heroical Sidonian king presented to me when we were to part at his receipt of me, and 'twas the art of that great artist that of heaven is free, and yet even this will I bestow on thee. This speech thus ended, guests came and did bring muttons for presents to the godlike king, and spirit-prompting wine that strenuous makes. Their ribboned wreathed wives brought fruit and cakes. Thus, in this house, did these their feast apply, and in Ulysses' house activity the wooers practiced, tossing of the spear, the stone, and hurling, thus delighted, where they exercised such insolence before, even in the court that wealthy pavements wore. Antinous did still their strifes decide, and he that was in person deified Eurymachus, both ringleaders of all, for in their virtues they were principal. These by Noemon, son to Phronius, were cited now, who made the question thus: Antinous, does any friend here know when this Telemachus returns or no from sandy Pylos? He bold to take my ship with him, of which I should now make fit use myself, and sail in her as far as spacious Elis, where of mine there are 12 delicate mares, and under their sides go laborious mules, that yet did never know the yoke nor labor, some of which should bear the taming now, if I could fetch them there. This speech the rest admired, nor dreamed that he, Nelean Pylos, ever thought to see, but was at field about his flocks survey, or thought his herdsman held him so away. Eupetheus' son, Antinous then replied, when went he, or with what train dignified, of his selected Ithacensian youth? Pressed man or bondman were they? Tell the truth. Could he effect this? Let me truly know. To gain thy vessel did he violence show, and used her against thy will? Or had her free, when fitting question he had made with thee? Noemon answered, I did freely give my vessel to him, who deserves to live that would do other, when such men as he did in distress ask. He should churlish be that would deny him. Of our youth the best amongst the people, to the interest his charge did challenge in them, giving way with all the tribute all their powers could pay. Their captain, as he took the ship, I knew, who Mentor was, or God, a deity show masked in his likeness. But to think 'twas he I must much admire, for I did clearly see but yester morning godlike Mentor here. Yet the other evening he took shipping there, and went for Pylos. Then went he for home, and left the rest with envy overcome, who sat and pastime left. Eupetheus' son, sad, with rage his entrails overrun, his eyes like flames thus interposed his speech. Strange thing, an action of how proud a reach is here committed by Telemachus. A boy, a child, and we, a sort of us, vowed against his voyage, yet admit it thus. With ship and choice youth of our people too. But let him on, and all his mischief do. Jove shall convert upon him his powers, before their ill presumed he brings on ours. Provide me then a ship, and 20 men to give her manage, that against again he turns for home. On the Ithacensian seas, or cliffy Samian I may enterprise, waylay and take him, and make all his craft sail with his ruin for his father's saft.